สวัสดีค่ะMy name is Nadia Suttikulpanich, and I'm the head of Fuchsia Innovation Center for Multi-Life Assurance. I'll be your host today for the topic of capabilities and mindset of insurers on a digital journey for faster speed to market. In Thai, it's ร่ง speed ออกตลาดสู่หนทาง Digital Insurer ให้เร็วที่สุดจะต้องคิดยังไงเตรียมตัวยังไงกันนะคะ So my guest today is Mr. Yong Yang. He's the MD of Zhong'an Technologies based in Singapore. I would like to welcome Mr. Yang to the panel.
Sawadika. Thank you, Nadia. Thank you for having me today.
Hi, Yang. So good. We haven't seen each other for quite some time due to the pandemic. So I hope you get to come to Bangkok soon. And we're waiting for the days.
I'm preparing for my visa to come into Bangkok in November.
Very good. Very good. Hope you can make it. So as I was just introducing the topic, I think we'll be kind of like conversing. And since we haven't seen each other in a while, so I prepare a few questions for the session, and feel free to kind of like create any more or ask me back. I think we'll keep it casual.
Sure.
The topic is really about capabilities and mindset of preparing insurers on a digital journey, right? I think you've been through both, right? So Zhong'an has moved from being a digital insurer yourself, from starting in China, and now you have helped other insurers through the technology that you have developed. What has been the kind of like experience that from being an insurer to kind of helping others digitize?
Yeah, thank you for the question. That's a very big question. So I would say, in short, the journey has been very exciting and challenging. I can share a bit more. You're right. I think it's been a privilege of having experiences as the leading digital insurer in China, as well as a pure tech company outside of China, to help our partners going through their digital transformation journey. Why we said that it's very exciting is because we are new to this market. We only start to enter South Asia markets, including Thailand market, from 3 years ago. And we are very humble, and we understand it's a long commitment if you want to go into market and help the partners in that market for their digital transformation. So why it's so exciting is because we get this chance to work with the leading digital insurance companies in each of the markets. It was like when and how we started our conversation 3 years ago. And after that, we start to understand better, okay, what is the local regulation? What is the ecosystem? What is the gig economy development on, at which stage? And what is some of the considerations when we design new products, right? And I think we start to learn from you, from other partners in this market, so that we can make sure that we are prepared and we are localized in different markets. And through that, I would say a lot of ideas we never thought of before, we never tried before in China. So I would say it's a mutual learning process. Why it's challenging? Actually, a lot of challenges that we encounter in China, we start to see it in South Asia, in Thailand as well. And we understand
like what?
Okay, so to be frank, the level of excitement equals to the level of challenges.
Yeah.
For a lot of times, the challenges could include like, okay, you need to align with all internal stakeholders as well as external stakeholders, because digital is not just about 1 or 2 POCs. It's actually a long-term commitment. It's a long-term commitment from the insurance companies, and you need to closely discuss with different partners or stakeholders, including regulator. Right? If you want to bring some first of its kind product into the market, it has to be under the regulatory framework to make it sustainable, right? That's one, I would say that's one typical challenges, a lot of communications, right?
Yeah.
Another challenge is whether you can find the right partner to do that, to realize the idea into something real into the market.
Yeah.
Right. So that's another challenge, and it would take time, especially, given COVID, we cannot meet. So I would say it's fair to say it takes longer time nowadays.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like you brought in many interesting points, and it kind of like segue into my next questions as well. You mentioned that it's been like a 3 years journey, right? I'm just wondering, like what has been the key difference 3 years ago until right now? Do you know what I mean? In terms of like the mindset, the belief, or even market conditions that Southeast Asia kind of like presents itself up as a market whereby the likes of Zhong'an or even other insurtech companies see as ready to embark on this digital journey.
Yeah, definitely compared with 3 years ago, we've seen much more vibe in this market in digital insurance, insurtech, innovations. I think that is thanks to the joint efforts from different stakeholders. As you mentioned, right now there are more and more insurtech platforms. They enter into this market from different angles, right? Some of them are very specialized at e-commerce products, and some of them are very specialized at auto insurance. On the other side, we've seen more and more insurance companies already started, or they are in the middle of their digital transformation, either from a bottom-up approach, like internally they start to digitize themselves, or by working with external partners, or some of them even invest in insurtech platforms, hoping that can bring fresh ideas or fresh models inside. And I still remember that 3 years ago, when we talked with some of the potential partners, they were saying, okay, we have done something, but more on the direct to customers, right? Leveraging the latest technologies, AI, IoT, blockchain, and start to offer something different directly to their customers. At the time, we brought in this ecosystem play, which was quite new to a lot of insurance companies in the region. But if you look at now, this concept has become more specific. In the past years, I believe it's the same for you. Insurance companies start to build up their own ecosystems by working with different partners, right? Now the topic has become to be embedded insurance. So from the shift of the concept, you can see it's becoming more specific and more practical, right? But I still think right now we are at a stage from 0 to 1 if we look at the overall digital penetration for insurance, or even the awareness of customers for digital insurance. Yeah, so still way to go.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think we're just at a very start, like the very beginning and then start of the journey. And I think the road is exciting, and to be very honest, I'm also excited for the customer as well, because as a customer before joining like insurance industry, I always feel that it's quite hard to get into and understand insurance, right? With all these technology, it allows for much more creativity, and therefore allowing for a better or bite size, or smaller chunks, or unique offerings that the customer can enjoy, right? And especially embedding into the ecosystem, allowing them to kind of like not to hop off or think of it as an afterthought, but to kind of like combine the experience together. I think that's super cool.
Yeah. Definitely. Actually, I also want to get your review on, because you mentioned before joining Muang, you were a customer for insurance, but right now you are inside of insurance and trying to provide better products, better services to someone like you, like 3 years before. So how has been that journey so far? And if if you look at how you can evaluate your, success, like on what.
Yeah, I think that that is like a very important question for me. Thank you so much for asking that. Because when we design or when we kind of like undergo development, we always think of like, the customer. So we always put ourselves in that kind of experience as well, and try to see, what would make sense. And so instead of focusing on the so-called technology alone, we spend a lot of time designing the journey, and then subsequently find the right technology to make that journey happen. So I think that's how we, that's how I would kind of say, like, in terms of planning stage, right? What will success look like is I think kind of linked to the topic of this session, is the speed to market. Because if we think too long or like waste time developing something that doesn't exist yet, instead of prioritizing that experience and delivering that experience in a meaningful period of time, right? Then the whole thing falls apart. Because if you have a good idea but you never execute it, that idea is just something in your mind, or in a box, or looks great on presentation, but people don't get to experience it. So I think success for me is really kind of striking the balance, delivering it well at the right time, and really kind of like look at how people respond to it. I always talk to my team that, look, if you don't get it right the first time, it's not the end of the world, but you need to be able to kind of respond and like come back and kind of like do other iterations, right? Because if you understand the technology already and you test it with the customer, then you get a lot more real-time feedback, right?
Yeah.
On what they want, on what they like, or what doesn't work. And then that I think could really improve ourselves, as well as ultimately improve customer satisfaction.
Yeah. I think that's a very visionary mindset, I would say, and it's not easy to set up that mindset within incumbent insurance company. But as a digital insurer in China, we always tell ourselves that we make more failures than successes. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But that's very important for us to learn from each of the failures so that we can better serve our customers. Yeah. And when coming to Southeast Asia, I think we have the chance to work with the biggest ecosystem partners at the same time with insurance companies. So that you can imagine that now we still get the feeling, okay, that's quite different culture, different mindset, but we see that it's moving into a middle ground more and more. Even though it's not perfectly matched sometimes, like speed to market, the way you engage with customers, the attitude of allowing failures, there is still some gap, but we can see the movement.
Yeah.
In the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's like, I totally agree with that. So maybe just kind of like going back to what you just touched upon just now, right? That's like the mindset. So from your experience, what would be the right team structure or framework to kind of like for incumbents, and even for companies like us, and a lot more companies out there, right? They have so much experience, they have great teams, but what is the right structure to kind of like foster the mindset, right, into adopting a digital model?
Yeah, I think that's a very important question for incumbent insurers. Then, if you don't mind, I would just refer you as an example, because I see that as a as a good team structure. And to my, I think in different regions from the leading digital insurers, we see similar patterns. So first of all, I think as a team, it needs to get the support from top management, because digital is not overnight, it's 1 year, it's actually multiple years, 3 or 5 years, or even 10 years. So without a strong support from management, it's very difficult to go, go far. The second one is the leadership within the team is also very important. Like, I think a lot of times, who will set up that mindset? I would say it's the leaders within the team. And normally that mindset need to be strong enough to guide everyone to overcome different challenges. And sometimes we have to admit it's very stressful for team members, but we just need to go over it. And in terms of the profile of the team, I would say it's good to have a combination, a mix of insurance background, as well as a background from tech or internet companies. Because we have to admit that right now, there's still a gap between insurance and the gig economies, right? From various aspects. So it'll be very helpful if within the team, you can have a combined profile as well. So at one side, insurance is a regulated business. You need to have expertise of insurance, but on the side, you also know, okay, how to serve your customer better, how can go faster by having the tech background and, internet backgrounds in the team. Another quite important component is, even though I think in the beginning, the team might be not that sizable or kind of small, but it's good if you can have full functions in it. Like you have product expert, you have tech expert, you have marketing, you have compliance, and you have actuary, right? With a handful of team members in the team, but you can have the independencies and speed to market to make your own decisions. I think that's also very important.
Yeah, I do agree with that. And it's almost like a small business unit, right? And it's quite fun actually to kind of form that team, because everybody, and you don't have to be senior, junior, or whatnot, right? You kind of take your hat off and then you come together, and everybody kind of have their own responsibility and their own like expertise. I find that very empowering. And the next thing is, a lot of times in the old ways of working, there may be only a handful of people who knows certain topics, but in this kind of flat layer and a digital fast moving environment, everybody knows everything, and this guy can fill in for that girl, or vice versa. And I think it's not just gaining new experience, but also, I think it creates self-improvement in a large way for those individuals.
Yeah. Actually, one question I'm curious to get a review is, obviously you build a quite strong team nowadays, but I know that you build that from scratch to find your first employee, the second one. So when you look for a new member to join a team, what are some of the most important criteria that you are looking for? Yeah.
I think personally, I look for both hard skill and soft skills. I think they are equally important. So like hard skills are knowledge base in certain areas, definitely. Analytical skills. I think analytical skill in this case is not like, you're able to crunch numbers, but I think it's the problem solving mindset, right? Because one need to realize that there's no one right strategy, right? Life is all about pivoting. So if someone is too fixated about something and cannot kind of wiggle themselves out of the situation, I think it's very hard to undergo that journey. Another thing to me, which is a super important soft skill, is accountability. I think we don't talk about that enough. And this links to what we talked about before, which is failure, right? It's not that like a person who has accountability and they will go into a dark place if they fail, but they need to realize like why and what causes the failure, right? And owe up to it, not hide it, owe up to it and move on, right? So I think those are some of the things that we try to find in a as a common qualities in a person, and then they can be an expert in actuarials. They can be an expert in in tech, or they can be a front end, they can be a back end coder, or they can be anything. But it's just like some of those qualities that we want to put the team together, because once you have like-minded people in that kind of sense, the team moves much faster, and the team kind of like works together really well. And I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think when we talk about speed to market for insurance, besides partners, regulator support, technology, I think people is also quite essential. And a lot of times you will find, in order to move, across the last or across the finishing line, you need someone or someone who can work extra miles. Maybe they need to do something that is out of their scope. But at that point in time, that needs to be done by someone, right? I think when we're trying to identify some candidates, one criteria is also important to us is whether that themselves can proactively fill in the gap for the team. Yeah. So that's also very important.
Yeah. I think like it's really exciting for the younger generations as well, because what we're talking about is multidisciplinary, right? It's no longer like, oh, I'm only good at this, but I can be ready to be good at something else. I think that's the mindset, that you're talking about, like the extra mile, and also like stand up when the situation calls for.
Yeah. That's right.
And like, I think like other thing that I wanted to kind of ask you, and it's not in the list that I prepared.
That's good. Surprise.
Yeah, surprise.
Yeah.
So like, based on I think there's a lot of discussion, and a lot of insurance company, as well as many types of companies, are going through the so-called like digital transformation, innovation, and like all these key developments. How do you think that we can, I think it's great that we have a starting point, is to have certain teams or certain kind of squads doing stuff like this. But I think it's also important to gradually get everyone, right? Because like you said, digital is not a 1 year thing, 2 year thing. It's a long-term thing. So eventually, the entire organization should also embrace. And we really move and expand the net, right? For these kind of like embrace to happen. I think it's like a bit of a tricky question. I don't have the answer myself, but from you, who are kind of born and bred digital, what are the kind of like things that you see, or even like character that you see to kind of help kind of propagate this?
I think first of all, we need to recognize and agree on that, it's the customer demand for digital. It's not you or me, we want to do digital. It's just in order to make sure that the business can go well in the next decades, we need to meet the demand from customers. I think that's very fundamental. And that needs to be always the principle. And then if, say, we are at a stage, we already started something, I think the next puzzle that I need to solve is how we can scale that. Because say now you already have the capabilities, and then you need more use cases to test that capability and to show to others that we can deliver and we can bring differences, right? So this is how, once we have a strong team, once we have the right mindset and the right technology, you can just go massively to the market, to, the ecosystems, because there are a lot ecosystem that already start to get into the insurance, even though they are in early stages, but you can see that their end users and ecosystem themselves, they have a demand to it. And I mean, a lot of ecosystems are doing this in a very fragmented way, in an early stage, right? So I would say it will be a win-win to build up more use cases with more ecosystems to demonstrate the product design capabilities, the speed to market capabilities, and to build up that first mover advantage for digital insurers in the markets. And it's not easy because I think in order to make digital transformation sustainable, you need to be a business-driven digital transformation.
Yes. And what you just said kind of like pops up another thing that, you know, I think we've been talking about it, but we haven't covered it here, is that what we want to kind of express is that digital is not just like direct to customer or, you know, embed and it's not about forgetting someone or some functions, right? Digital can be embedded into all fabrics of functionality. So example for agents and other intermediaries that we work with, we can also use digital to enhance their capabilities and enhance the potential for them to work in a more efficient manner. And I think like reach out to customer more effectively as well, right? So it's the augmentation of experience and depending on product, because again, we talk a lot about small ticket size and you know, like small chunks of business, but not all product needs to be delivered in the same way. But digital could kind of like embed it itself and, you know, be designed into the appropriate journey for different sellers, different product sets, and different delivery mode, right?
Yep, definitely. I think you definitely pointed out the right direction. I think embedded is not a concept. It's more a mindset and capability. Because you can imagine if right now we're a box, but in order to embed ourselves into your agent, your intermediaries, your ecosystems, your banks, you need to open up yourself and make yourself modular enough to be connected so that you can make sure whenever a customer needs something, it could be a product, a right product at the right moment. It could be a service. It can provide them. They don't need to just come back to you. They can just, you know, go to your ecosystem partners and get that service or product from you. I think that's a mindset and capability.
Yeah, I totally love that. Be where the customer are.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's right. Yeah.
Thank you.
And you're welcome. Actually, I'm going to, you know, ask you something which could be a little bit tough, because especially I think since COVID coming in, we've been discussing, you know, how we can innovate some life and health products to address the, you know, demand of the customers. Given that nowadays it's quite difficult for them to, you know, go to the agent or even go to the bank. But we still need to provide a way for them to, you know, get a product need. So from your perspective, what do you think will be the outlook for the digitization or innovation in the next, you know, 3 years or so for Thailand markets?
Yeah, I think it is just what we said just now, right? The augmentation and the connectivity. So regardless of channels, regardless of you know, product type, we need to kind of like improve and create that capability to be discoverable, right? So we need to create the right tools. If it's like straight through online, then how do we kind of create that presence, and so that customer do not have to deal with all sorts of paper. You know, it also save costs for the insurers as well. On the other hand, we have our agents fleet who are super capable, but how do we kind of like empower them to have more flexibility, right? COVID has showed us so much. Digital face-to-face is another thing that a lot of us are talking about. How can we move that in a much more cohesive way and stress-free way for our agents and for our customer? Bank assurance as well, right? People are not walking to the branches anymore because they have their fabulous banking application, and that's also a strategy from the bank. How can an insurance or like us, like MTL, right, create that ecosystem partnership? I think that's something that is really in like a short-term horizon. Yeah. And
Yeah.
COVID has changed not just businesses, but also the behavior of the end consumer, and that they kind of like embrace a lot more digital.
Yeah. Again, exciting and challenging.
Yes,
But,
very.
happy to work it out.
Yeah, totally. I think it's great. The time is great. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you so much, Yang, for joining the session. I hope I learned a lot. So I think I hope all the listeners enjoy this and reach out to us anytime. I think we're both willing to answer any questions that anyone might have. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Thank you. สวัสดีค่ะ